all nations. Well, hello everyone. This is Norby of Primary Worship Band and Commitment Church, and you are watching and listening to CTCM Radio, a station for all nations. And you're on our particular show that is titled It Is Written. And this is a show designed around authors, writers for music, and publishers, and all types of writing styles and all types of genres and demographics that we bring in, different types of authors and artists. Really, at the end of the day, expression of words is a very important thing. And as Christians, we also even take to heart, every word that God tells us. And it's a very important thing to even remind ourselves how important God continues to speak through times like these, and the climate that we're living in now. Today I have the privilege, the honor to have a special friend of our churches, of our pastors, and I would even say my friend as well, as that we, had some history in a show we used to have here, the Arts Avenue. It was like a ministry to kind of bring artists to the stage of very different styles and things. We had like musicians and authors and even culinary artists. We had like all kinds of actors, all types of things run through here. And Deb Smart was one of our guests from time to time. I think we might have had you maybe a couple times.
I think about 4 times.
Yeah. We couldn't get enough of her. And she's an amazing person. And we're going to go through a journey of just getting to know Deb Smart and just everything that God has done through her. And is continuing to do through her, and what he will be continuing to do for the many years to come. I'm going to read this. Deb Smart is a senior publishing editor and producer with One Smart Lady Productions, and is an author, freelance writer, and mentor. Her books are centered around family and life and relationships, and she helped over 60 first-time writers launch their writing careers. And you told me to update that because it said 35.
That's right.
But now God is taking you on this like over 60 now and plus, and we're going to continue to see God work. It's such a great opportunity to have people that are like yourself, founders and just wise counsel in things that are like about writing and putting stories together and telling a story, whether it's personal, fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, but it continues to project just a culture and the movement of what God wants to do through us. And it's a blessing to have someone that I can call and say, hey, look, I got this idea God put in my heart. I don't know how to put it into words. How can you help me with that? How does that look for you whenever you've had people come up to you?
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's been a blessing because every day I do something that I love. I was in corporate for 16 years and working for somebody else's mission. Well, now I follow God's mission in what I do because I really believe He has put me here because the people who have come into my life, their stories needed to be told. And when someone I met just recently in a Zoom meeting, she said, can we talk? And I just put together something called a manuscript clinic that allows me to get to know the writers and the authors before they really get into completing their first draft. And my key thing is I kind of counsel them through the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's great. I mean, it's just valuable. Is that something like sort of like a side business or something that you make it a point for people to come and do that whenever they want to come and write a book, or is it part of the package when they come to you?
No, this has been the challenge that I have. I was a middle child, center child of 5.
Yeah.
And I always created my own days, what I was going to do. I'm very organized in a disorganized way.
I get that. I have a middle center child as well. Yeah, she's my most craftiest, most creative minded kind of, it's amazing.
That's right, because we're allowed, and I was raised in a church, so I knew who Jesus was.
Yes.
Okay, and there was one Deacon West, very tall with a gold tooth, as I'll always remember him. And he always talked about kindness and being kind to people. And I believe that was the foundation that brought me to who I am as a woman.
Wow.
Learning very early how important it is to be kind to people and to listen to them. I was not always a listener. Okay, I'll be very honest. But I've learned how to listen and hear what they're really asking me to do for them.
Right.
A lot of people, the bottom line is money, time. And so what I've done is I have multiple packages. I have 3 tiers.
Gotcha.
Tier 1 is called Dare to Dream, and when you go to my marketing hub, I call it, you'll see the one section called Dare to Dream. And what I do, I take them through a process of really talking to them to find out, why do you want to write this book? And who do you want to talk to? Who do you want it to speak to? And a lot of people have gone through a lot of difficult things in their lives, and they really think that they're not the only one. So therefore, they made it through the challenge, so therefore they can help someone else make it through.
That's really good.
And that's been over and over again the process of really finding out why and who, and then we just start from there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really good. It's such a gem to have a resource like this, you know, and having people to connect in that way. I was looking at some of your stuff on your website from 1967.
Well, that's when I graduated from high school. I had to start but my writing career began in high school. I was Dear Gabby.
That's amazing.
Little play on words, Dear Abby. So I was Dear Gabby.
That's funny.
And I had my own column in, what was it? Germantown's newsletter. And one of the exciting things that I did was I had a chance to interview the principal, Mr. Charles Highsmith, who was a huge man, big man, very well respected. And when I went to interview him, he said, "Excuse me, your last name is Wilson?" My maiden name is Wilson. And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Do you have brothers here?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Avon and Doug?" I said, "Yes." He says, "They're in my office all the time. How come this is the first time I've ever met you?" I said, "Because I don't get in trouble."
Right. Yep. That's it. Keep a clean nose, right? Like,
that's it.
That's awesome.
But he's, God has put people in my life, as I reflect and look back, he's put people in my life that really steered me on the right path. Because I didn't have a desire to go to college after high school. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and my dad said, "Nah." But I wanted to be an archaeologist, so I'm not going to college.
That's interesting.
I was very stubborn.
See, that's interesting. You get that kind of response if you're like, "Oh, I want to be a musician," or "I want to be an archaeologist." Is deep. Like, so why would somebody, it's amazing just the thought process of.
Well, you have to remember that was back in the '60s.
Oh, okay, so that was
It had a lot of what. It's the time, and he knew the struggle that I would go through.
Yeah.
And but Mr. Highsmith said, "Well, what are your plans for college?" And I said, "Well, I don't plan to go to college."
Right. Okay.
And he says, "Why not?" He says, "I'm looking at your record now." I pulled it up, looking at your record, and you're a good student. Why are you not? So I switched. I think I was in commercial. They had commercial, academic, and stuff like that. So he switched me to went to the counselor. They switched me to an intermediate course where I could get college. Okay. I had to go to summer school for 2 more classes in order to, but I still didn't go on to college. I went straight to work.
Right.
And, talking is another part of what I do. And I was an operator at, as you can see, a Bell Telephone.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. That's his 1998 now?
No. That's prior to.
Okay, so you're in 1985 right now.
Yeah, well, this is 1967 now.
Still, okay.
Still, walked out of my home, went down and took a test, and got hired immediately for Bell
Telephone, right.
And I was an operator for a little over a year, and then got into corporate for 16 years. And during that time, I learned programming. I was one of the first programmers on an IBM personal computer.
That's amazing.
One of my projects was to, I'm just, I'm so excited about my past.
Yeah.
Because I see how it all developed.
Absolutely.
Because I'm still a techie.
That's right.
But anyway, I was one of my first project as a senior programming analyst was to work with another company to develop a software package where the insurance agents could type in the information rather than doing it longhand on paper.
Right.
And I got the bug for consulting during that.
Computer program, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
and still a techie today. I mean,
Still a
what
techie
kind of things
today.
do you do now, like when it comes to the tech? And
I do my web design.
yeah,
You know,
that's cool.
Yeah, I do my web design. I set up the web pages for my authors. I'm a podcaster.
Yes,
My podcast is Smart Talks with One Smart Lady.
very cool.
And so
I love how you always use the smart in everything that you do. It's very smart branding.
There you go.
Very good, very good. I love that.
And if you talk to someone, they say, "Oh yeah, she's one smart lady." You know,
Yeah,
so-
that's exactly.
so
That's who she is.
That's, as I said, the Lord has placed people in my life
Wow.
for purpose.
That's beautiful.
You know?
Yeah, it's really cool. How long have you had the podcast for?
The podcast is 2 years old, and it's been on and off. Unfortunately, I lost my husband, Willie Smart, last year, and I kind of took last year off, kind of to decide what I wanted to do. I mean, I still was very visible in the different communities I joined, because I really wanted to meet other people who were doing things that I didn't want to do myself, because I knew that now I had an opportunity to really focus on my writing. You know, still work on the publishing with other people, but I'm looking at more like 60-40 and building up my podcast and
Gotcha.
things like that. And I didn't really start back to work until February.
Wow. How do you like, you know, and as you mentioned, like you've had loss, you've suffered loss, and how does that, you know, contribute to the writing, to putting it all into words, expressing it, you know, really just inspiring you to go further and move forward?
Well, writing for me is just like breathing. I've been writing since I guess I was 12 or 13 years old, and as I said, I was Dear Gabby. So, but writing has really helped me through a lot of the different experiences I've had. I won't go into detail, but I had a lot of abuse as a child, and writing character stories, not about my experience, but just creating characters. Like, I ended up in the hospital when I was 12. I was going at 13 years old because I was Mrs. Zorro.
Wow.
I had gotten a Zorro doll and a horse,
Yes.
and my mom punished me and sent me to our room. She never knew that was the worst thing in the world to do. Good. And I started with my husband Zorro, and we went off to a carnival.
Wow.
And my sister and I had bunk beds.
Right.
And so we're riding on the bunk bed, and we were watching the clowns, in my mind, of course, watching the clowns doing their tumble and stuff like that. So I wanted to do it too. So I did one, and I did two. I said, maybe I can do three. Well, the third one, I hit a bad turn, because I remind you, I was 13 and very small, okay? And I bounced off the bunk bed, crashed through the window. Now I'm going to freeze frame for you. Our house, my bedroom was 3 stories above an asphalt
Wow.
driveway. Now go back. Crashed through the window, bounced off the storm screen back into the room. Look at God. My dad had just put that storm screen in there that month.
Wow.
So that's how I lived.
That wasn't very smart.
That wasn't my first time with something like that.
Wow.
I was 8 years old. I fell out of a pine tree.
Wow.
And in my story here that I wrote, I fictionalized in Pearl, The Little Light That Shines.
Wow.
I write about the pine tree angel.
Wow, that's really cool.
So that's how I kind of incorporate my real life,
That's great.
activities into like fictional stories.
That is super cool. Like, I saw that you have quite a few books that you've written. I saw that one, and that was really cool. Pearl,
The Little
the
Light,
little
that,
light
shines.
that shines. And the premise of this one is, as you said and mentioned just now, just like actual personal stories put into, just a book that people can relate and connect to. And with PJ Richardson.
That's my character.
Now, this is a second edition.
That's the second edition, only because the first edition, when I wrote it, I thought I was writing it for school kids.
Yes.
most of the people who buy it are women my age
Wow.
and in their 50s.
Wow.
Because they can
Yeah.
relate. They can relate to the stories,
Right.
and then they say, "Are we related somehow?" Because
That's amazing.
the people that you write about remind me of my uncle and my auntie and stuff like that.
That is so cool. How
Yeah.
God will just like pick us to live a life for others.
That's
to
exactly
see
And
their life through you.
that's exactly it. And that's exactly
That's
it.
beautiful. So you have, okay, I have like not all of them, I guess, but I
Yeah.
have Born to Win, Not to Retire, New Beginnings.
Yes, let
Can
me
you
tell you
me
that
about
story.
that a little bit?
March 2021. I was my husband's health was failing, and I was, again trying to decide my transition. What was I going to do? Because I knew I had to care for him too, and I work completely from home. So no, this is full time. This isn't a side gig.
Gotcha.
And so the end of March, I decided, well, I'll take the month of April off. Stop all business activity and just see what I want to do. I'll just go into prayer. So on March 31st, I'll never forget it. Was it March 31st? Yeah. It was March 30. No, April 1st. It was because I thought, is this an April Fool joke? So I'm writing my devotional, and I'm saying, Lord, this is what I want to do. Every morning I write a devotional, starting with gratitude and what my expectations for the day is. Well, this time it was what my expectations was for April. And I said, Lord, this is what I see myself doing. What do you want me to do? Clear as day, I heard, learn to be still. The next day, went through the same process. Lord, what do you want me to do? Learn to focus on now. And then the next day, I heard, learn to follow the desires of your heart. And I believe it was 2021 now that I'm thinking, because there's two different major things happened to me. Oh yeah, I started, might have been 2020, I have to go back. I started writing a 90-day devotion every day.
Okay.
And just before, it was 2020 because I was turning 70.
Okay.
And I didn't know at that time if I was going to retire or not.
Okay.
So for 90 days, I wrote in my devotional, and what he told me was, just before my 70th birthday, you were born to win, not retire. So that, now I get
That
back
is
to,
really
that's
good.
where the story for that book came about.
By the way, God is doing wonders on you. 70?
Yeah.
More. No, now you're what? 70?
I will be 73.
Forgive me for asking, but
I will be 73, and I'm not.
And that's such a testament to even God, how he rejuvenates us.
That's exactly right.
And
That's
he
why I keep
keeps
on
us
going.
young.
That's
Yes,
why I keep on
that's
going.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Thank you.
I wouldn't try to guess, of course. But no, that's wonderful.
So that's where we're born to win, not retire. Came from. And then I'm going to email you what message I got just recently, what win actually means. I can't remember it right now.
Wow. Okay.
But he broke it down even further. So
Wow.
I published that as an ebook in
Yes.
2020. And then the story about the April 2021, that was when I started a podcast in April. I went through training for the podcast, and that's how the podcast come about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have another book here, says Refined Pearl.
Yeah, the Refined.
The String of Pearl.
That's the second edition.
All right.
And you asked who PJ Richardson is. She's the character.
Oh, I gotcha.
So
okay. So
yeah,
it's like an ongoing.
It's an ongoing.
It's like a series almost.
It's a series.
That's
It
very
is.
cool.
And it's under the String of Pearls series. That's why I wear pearls.
I gotcha. I'll see. Everything's a purpose there.
And the pearls came from, I was born in June.
Okay.
Pearl is the gem for June. And when you think about how God created the pearls to come about the world, they come through a very hard, harsh life.
Yeah.
They go through a lot.
Big process.
And look at the beautiful results.
The outcome is awesome.
Yeah.
Shining.
Yeah.
And forever shining.
So that's what I'm saying. The Lord put me here he had a plan even before my mom. Okay.
That's amazing.
So, and I'm just following the plan.
That is beautiful. Now, what kind of things do you talk about on your podcast whenever you have
Well, it's not
episode?
me talking on the podcast. Season 2, I will be on the podcast. But for the first year, I decided to only have my guests on the podcast, and it was audio. So I would ask them the questions, and the 3 questions were, how did you dare to dream? How did you dare to grow? And how do you dare to prosper? So those are the 3 tiers in my program we were talking about, the package that I have. And Dare to Dream, they basically tell their story, how they grew up and they did this, and I used to draw on the walls, and my mom would, now I'm an illustrator and blah blah blah,
That's amazing.
But really, Dare to Dream is the first level of anybody's life, because you think about, I want to do this.
Yeah.
But then you have to figure out, well, what skills do I need? So that's the second one, Dare to Grow. How do I grow into this person or business that I want to put together? And then once you're in business, you got to make some money. So how are you going to prosper? So those are the 3 tiers.